Yo, I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see it's true, but the world is pretty cold.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Yogi. I'm making my very first YouTube video today. It's going to be a DIY video on how to install a backup light on your license plate. The car that I'm going to be using today is my 2018 Acura MDX. It requires a little bit of work. You're going to install this little license plate frame attachment on the outside of the frame. You're going to do a little wiring using some tools that I have. And if all goes well, you should be done in less than 30 minutes. Real simple to install. I'll show you step-by-step instructions in just a minute. Alright, so here we see the packaging. That's the LED light that I've been talking about. It's got 24 LEDs. Pretty nice. There's the packaging that it came in, ijdmtoy.com. Go check them out. These are what we call splicing connectors for the wires. Allows you to connect wires without having to cut them and splice them the old-fashioned way. I love that. I'll show you how to use that here in a second. The product has a screw, it's called a hex screw, that you can use a hex screwdriver to adjust the tilt. It's got 360 degrees adjustability, so you can get that hex screwdriver tilted up or down after you've got it mounted to your license plate, so that way you can shine the light exactly where you need to. If I could ask for one thing, I wish the wiring was a little bit thicker in gauge. The fact that the wiring is so thin could be a problem in the future. But let me show you how to use these little clips. They've got a little blade on top of it. That's what you see there. And you basically take the red from this wire along with the red of the existing wire inside your car, where you're going to be joining the wires. And so you connect the two little reds with one clip, and then you squeeze down with a pair of pliers, and then at the very end you clip it. And then you repeat that with the other clip for the black. So black to black and red to red, each set of wires gets its own clip, and you squeeze them down with a pair of tweezers or long nose pliers, and what happens is basically that blade cuts into those wires and creates that splice. So this packaging contains two of those for you, which is really handy. Like I said, I wish the wiring was a little bit thicker, but other than that, this company's pretty rock solid there, IJDM. I have no affiliation with the company. I don't work for them. They don't pay me. I'm simply using their product. When I bought these, they were $10.55 on Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description down below of how you can get those on Amazon. We are outside, guys. This is my 2018 Acura MDX. I'm going to be showing you how to install that backup light on top of the license plate frame that you see here. You'll simply want to start by taking off these caps. You can use your fingers. You don't need a special prying tool like a spatula or pocket knife just yet. They're easy enough to just pull them right off. And then you're going to take out these screws using a Phillips head screwdriver. I went ahead and showed you how to take off the bottom two as well, because you may need to do that eventually depending on if you have to drill through these holes for the wiring. Let me open up the trunk, and then I'm going to show you the tools that you're going to need to use for this project. So here are the tools that we're going to need. You're going to need a drill bit with the Phillips head tip, a flat object like a spatula or a pocket knife, some long nose pliers, and the wire strippers. Next, we're going to remove the light bulb housing cover, which you can see there. It's got a little notch right there. You can use a prying tool like the little spatula type of device that I showed you earlier. Here's a nice shot of what that looks like. It's got a nice thin blade on it, but it's not as sharp as a pocket knife, so I can use that to pry the cover off of the housing, which gives me access into the light bulb and the wiring. There you can see I can just peel that off. As soon as I peel that off, you can see the wires inside, and I've already went ahead and unplugged the gray cable and I knew that the gray one was the light that controlled the backup light as opposed to the other one. So what I'll do is I'm going to peel up some of that tape right there around the tubing. That'll expose those two wires, and I'll be able to then splice using the connectors those two wires. So it's a black and a brown wire. So what I'll do is connect black to black and red to brown, and that'll then connect to the backup light. So I'll show you. Here's where I am drilling into it. I went ahead and put a really thin drill bit, and I'm drilling into the license plate. That little anchor that was in there, making the smallest of holes, and that hole is going to then come out through the inside. Then I'm going to switch to a fatter, wider drill bit, so I can make the hole a little bit wider so that the wires can feed easily through there. And I had to go this route because I eventually realized that there was no other better way for me to feed the wiring through. Now I'm sure there's some professionals watching this video who said there might have been a better way. I could have done this or done that better or differently. Keep in mind, I'm not a pro. I'm just a do-it-yourself guy. I'm just trying to figure out how to do this myself, so I don't have to pay somebody else to do something that pretty much any average Joe can do themselves. Okay, so now I've got the LED light. Here's the wire that comes off of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw them into the license plate frame, put that screw in and hand tighten it there, both on the right and the left side. First I'll have to take that screw off with my screwdriver, get my drill bit, unscrew that, you take that screw off. There you go. And then I'll put that screw in and tighten that. But one thing you realized is that I forgot to feed the wiring through the screw first. So here I go. I'm going to take the wires, feed them through the hole that I drilled. And try to snake that in as straight as possible so that it comes out on the other side. Give that a good push so I can get a couple of feet in there, and then open up the trunk, and then I can see the wire coming through and just pull it through all the way as tight as I can get it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to fish it to the other side, which is where the actual light bulb wire is. So as you can see, I'm going to try to do it with my hands at first, and I quickly realized that's not an easy feat. First I'll try to push that wiring through, hoping that there's no obstacles along the way so that I could easily feed that wire from one side to the other. Stick my hand in there, and I found out the hard way, yeah, it's very tight. You gotta be very careful that you don't cut yourself on any of those tight edges, on those sharp edges. Try to feed that wire in as far as I could, while at the same time try to reach for it with my hand. So at this point, I gave up trying to do it with my hand, so I got a coat hanger, a metal coat hanger, and I'm attaching my wires to that coat hanger with some electrical tape. Just tie those together, give it a few wraps. That way I'll be able to take the coat hanger and push it through the hole and fish it to the other side and just pull it back out. So now here I go, I'm going to put it back into the middle opening, snake that through so that it comes out the other side. There you see it. Pull it out. Trust me, that is much easier than trying to stick your hand up there and accidentally cutting yourself. So take my advice, get a metal coat hanger and do it this way. It'll save you a bunch of time and effort. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wires, I'm going to connect them together. You can see that there's a red and a black coming from the LED light, and I'm going to splice those wires using a blade so I can peel them apart There you go. Be careful not to cut yourself with the blade. And then slowly peel those two apart so you get the red and the black isolated from each other. And then you're going to take the black to the black of the light bulb and splice them together using the connectors from earlier, and do the red and the brown. Same thing, splice those two together. There is no red on this particular plug, so it's black to black and red to brown. So here I'm using my wire strippers to peel off a little bit of the end so I can expose the wires, and then splice the red to brown wires together and the black to black wires together. Squeeze down on them with your long nose pliers so that it creates the splice. There you go. Take the long nose pliers and give it a good squeeze so that the teeth of that blade punch through into the wires. Make sure you don't get them mixed up. You want a red, brown, and black, black. And then give it a final squeeze with your long nose pliers to ensure a good tight fit, and then clip at the very end. Then I went ahead and gave it another squeeze with the pliers, with the long nose pliers, just to make sure it is nice and tight. So at that point, I'm ready to go ahead and plug back in. There you go. Give it a nice push in there. Now with these extra wires that I have, the little extra wire that is hanging off, I'm going to cut those. First, I'm going to put some electrical tape on the ends. Let me grab my tape here, tape those wires, give it a couple of twists, and then take my electrical wire cutter and cut off the ends there. Just like that. Very good. And now I've got my LED light ready to be tightened into place. Put my screws in. Make sure the wire doesn't get pinched, and you want to be careful that you don't punch through the wires when you're putting that screw in. Because of the fact that I had to drill through that hole and the wire is also going through there, you want to make sure this screw doesn't punch through the wire or cut through that wire. So go slow. Get a little bit thinner screw if you need to, like I did. If you notice, my screws don't match from the left and the right side of the screen. So the left screw is the original screw. On the right screw, it's a little bit thinner than the original one, because I wanted to make sure I didn't punch in and cut the wires when I was tightening it into place. Turn the car on, put it in reverse, and there you go. Beautiful. Nice bright LED lights. And that is what the final product should look like. All in all, I'm very satisfied with this product. As you can see, it's nice and bright. It's a little bit light outside, so the true brightness of it can't be appreciated until later at night. Now here's my other car, my Acura TLX. I'm showing you the same LED light that I put on there yesterday. I've got it in reverse. I've got a little cover over my license plate so you can't see my license plate number, but you can definitely see the light that's shining off of that. Real nice and bright. And this is my blue colored Acura. It looks a little bit darker because it's in the garage right now, but it is blue. There's the license plate and the license plate frame and the light. Super nice and bright. It's dark inside the garage, so you can truly get an appreciation for how bright that LED is. Check it out. Real nice. For the price, you can't beat it. This product is pretty nice. We'll see how it lasts over the long run, but for the price, you can't beat it. Now with this car, it was a little bit more difficult because I had a few more rivets that I had to take out, and I had to take off the whole back cover in order to be able to get all the wires, to get access to the wires that I needed to. So I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. Open up the trunk here. the rivets that I was talking about, there's a bunch of them. There's about 8 or 9 rivets you got to pull out using some sort of prying tool or a flathead screwdriver, pocket knife, whatever flat edge object you may have, and take all these rivets out because you're going to need to be able to get to the wires. And as you can see, I'm pointing out all the different rivets that you have to pop off for the Acura TLX. So the TLX is definitely much harder. It's also a 2018, but it's much harder as far as the amount of work that's required. It's not really physically harder. It just takes more time. So each of these rivets, I call them rivets, they have a little groove or a little notch inside of them on the side. There you go. You can see the rivet notch. Just take your sharp-edged object, pull those out. You can see what those look like. I've got this one that didn't go back in correctly after the fact, and they're very brittle, so you got to be careful with these rivets. Guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and if you have any ideas for tips or techniques that you would like to learn, put that in the comments below as well. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? It's time to subscribe, so every week we have videos coming out. Have a wonderful and productive day. Thank you for watching my very first YouTube video.